Tonight's guest started in the hobby in 1998 when a friend of the family gave him a 20-liter tub of her son's hockey cards. He was all in until about 2004, collecting goalies and TCG. In 2009, he dabbled in Panini basketball and sporadically collected from 2010 until 2020 when the pandemic hit and he jumped full out into golf cards. In 2023, he started the Fondling Cardboard podcast. His favorite athletes of all time are Steve Nash, Shane Doan, Tiger Woods, Matthew Wolff, and Lando Norris. And his favorite teams of all time are McLaren F1, the Arizona Coyotes, and Live Golf's Range Goats. He's originally from Langley, BC, currently hailing out of Calgary, Alberta, same city as me. Let's bring him out.
Ridiculous Fondling Cardboard.
What is up? Welcome back to Fondling Cardboard. I'm your host, Mike Lakusta, aka the Golf Card Collector. And a huge thank you to Jeremy Lee and his audience for having me on the Sports Card Live show. That was last Saturday. If you didn't catch it, we were streaming live. There's a live audience, a live giveaway. We gave away a whole box of 2024 Upper Deck Game Used Golf. And we ripped the pack before sending it off to the person. And we got a Greg Norman autograph. So that was pretty awesome. Pretty fun giveaway. Thank you to Upper Deck and Jeremy Lee from Sports Card Live. Not only for that giveaway, but just for the whole experience for myself. So the recording's on YouTube. Go check it out if you haven't already. One quick housekeeping item before we get into the breakdown of the episode and the show itself. I'm going to be running my fourth and final major golf card pool of the season. It's basically a fantasy contest where everybody signs up and picks some golfers, but rather than treating it like a traditional office pool, we are giving away golf card prizes. It's been a resounding success so far this season with the Masters, the PGA, and the US Open. We've had tons of great people joining from the Golf Cards and Memorabilia Facebook group, from our golf card community on Instagram. Of course, mine is at The Golf Card Collector. And it's also spreading through word of mouth. So if you know anybody who might be interested, or if you haven't joined in the past yourself, please sign up. I've got the sign up sheet open now. It's at linktr.ee/fondling cardboard. That's my Linktree site. You can also find that on my Instagram page, which is at the Golf Card Collector. As we approach the start of the contest, I'll be sharing more information on my Instagram stories and also making posts in the Facebook group. But for now, I've got two quick teasers for you for this contest. Firstly, I am planning on including my PSA 10 Justin Rose rookie patch autograph card as a prize in the contest. I thought, Justin, he's a British guy. It's the British Open. It's a fitting prize. Just imagine how collectible that card would be if Justin were to pull off a win at his home country's Open. And the second spoiler I had is some of you might have seen that I have a bunch of binder pages full of Sign of the Times 2001 autograph cards. And I thought, you know what? I like giving away consolation prizes to everybody who joins the pool. And why not give a Sign of the Times autograph to everyone who joins? Now, they're not all going to be Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus cards, but I do have some nice ones in there. I was just flipping through. There's a Bernhard Langer, there's an Adam Scott, there's a bunch of others. So anybody who joins this pool will be receiving a Sign of the Times autograph. Now, I think I've got maybe 50 or 60 of them. So if the pool blows up and gets bigger than that, then heck, I'll find some extra similar types of prizes to throw in. Sign up at linktr.ee/fondling cardboard. All right, enough about the contest. Today's episode of Fondling Cardboard is an awesome one. We're going to be following up on a couple of conversation topics from Sports Cards Live that I felt like needed to be rounded out a little bit. Firstly is the postcards and an exhibit category of that Leighton Sheldon brought up. Of course, Leighton is a vintage expert, and so I was really intrigued when he brought up postcards as being a big collectible from the early 1900s in baseball and other sports, and I came up blank in the conversation. So I did a bit of research, and I got some stuff to report to you guys now. Then we're going to get into a little discussion about Greg Norman and just in general, the top 10 golfers of all time. Inspired, of course, by the Greg Norman autograph that was pulled, spoiler alert, for a community member of the golf card community, Shane O'Brien. So congrats again, Shane. Then we're going to get into card of the week. I forgot to talk about last week's card of the week, so I got 2 cards to talk about, and then we'll hit the mailbag. All right, here we go.
Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now.
That awesome clip of music that you just heard is from Jeremy Lee's intro to Sports Cards Live. If you've never tuned in, I highly recommend it. I know I already mentioned that, but seriously, it's a live show every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. That's where I live. So that'll be 7 p.m. Pacific or 10 p.m. Eastern. And it's a live show with a live chat. Of course, it's recorded, so you can watch it on YouTube afterwards. But yeah, when we were rolling, the chat got fired up, and it really can control the direction of the conversation when those comments are in play, as Jeremy says. So thanks for everybody that joined live, that fired up the chat, and those of you who have tuned in to the recording, and I appreciate all of you listening. I anticipated talking more about the ultra-modern landscape of golf cards. That's obviously what I collect a lot of. I'm attracted to the latest and greatest and shiniest cards. Maybe that's a vice of mine. Maybe I should consider more of the vintage side of things, like Jeremy Lee or Leighton Sheldon. I was surprised to hear Leighton is already an avid golf collector, or at least has a wing of his collection with vintage golf cards, specifically with early days Bobby Jones. So to pick a golfer and a type of card to collect in our niche, Leighton's got it figured out, man. I think that era of Bobby Jones, is probably the safest bet and some of the coolest stuff out there. Leighton asked a question about postcards, and there's a type of postcard that was basically a collectible back in the day for a lot of different sports, and it was basically like a trading card, but in the shape of like a postcard. They would mail to your family when you're traveling, and they would buy them at these, I don't know, vending machine type things. And rather than normally being used as mailing, people in that era were just collecting them. Anyways, Leighton asked me if I had any information about an early days Bobby Jones postcard. I did some research. Leighton, if you're listening to this, no, I did not find much information specifically on a Bobby Jones card. So sorry about that. However, I did find out some cool information. So Bobby Jones has one from the 2012 Panini product. Crap, I've already forgot what it's called. I think it's called like the Golden Age of Sports or something like that. And there's a box topper card, which was a Bobby Jones. So though obviously that box topper is not the same shape and size as a normal trading card, basically looks a lot like a postcard. So it's the only problem is it's not in Bobby Jones' playing days. It's not in his early days. Now in terms of early days cards, I came across one card, and I did consult our vintage golf card expert, John Morton, and he said, he's maybe seen or heard of some postcards, but he was frank that he wasn't educated or familiar with them, and so I appreciated his honesty. And so I reached out to the golf memorabilia collector as well as golf cards and memorabilia Facebook groups. That's 2 different groups. And I didn't get much. Like one person commented saying that there are golf postcards from that era, but a lot of them depict courses and maybe some scenery, but not any that actually show players. Nonetheless, an actual portrait up close where you can see their face and all those sorts of details. So that was disappointing. But then I did come across one card listed on eBay that was perfectly fitting of the description. The only problem was it's not Bobby Jones. But we've got a vintage 1948 to 49 Ben Hogan exhibit card. And now as to whether or not this is actually a proper exhibit card or not, it looks like it, but the back is just completely blank. So I don't know if this is exactly what he's talking about, but it's listed for $499 US. So obviously it's a nice collectible, and it looks like some of them have sold for around that price. So those of you who want, a nice vintage exhibit card and you happen to be a Ben Hogan fan, there you go.
James Wynn says, do you think he's a top 10 golfer of all time? Speaking of Greg Norman, you're shaking your head, Mike, as in no? Yeah, Merchant of Cool says no.
No, he was along those lines of like maybe even a step below Mickelson. All right, I took a little bit of flack for that comment live, although some of the people in the live chat did agree with me about my take on Greg Norman not being a top 10 golfer of all time or possibly even cracking top 20. Now, to be fair, I didn't know all of his stats. Sounds like Greg Norman had a pretty significant stretch of, I'm not going to call it dominance, but well, I guess let's just call it dominance. Before and the beginning stages of the Tiger Woods era, he has the second longest streak of all time as the world number one golfer, behind, of course, only Tiger Woods. So that's a pretty great stat on its own. And then additionally, he has 80 or 90, something like that, professional wins around the world. So here's my issue with that, and I talked about it on the show with Jeremy. Worldwide wins, does that really matter if you're playing on the Asia Tour, the Australian Tour, whatever gosh darn tour? No. Like, of course, those are really important wins. Me as a non-professional golfer, I'd be happy to win any kind of contest at my local muni. But when you're talking about greatest golfers of all time, I don't know if worldwide wins is necessarily a big factor. So I wanted to kind of do some research, not necessarily to back up the statements that I was saying, because if I'm wrong, I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong. But I just wanted to kind of go over who are, let's say, kind of the accepted top 10 golfers of all time. So here we go. So the primary resource that I'm using for this reporting is a website called sbnation.com, which is sort of an affiliate of some degree with the PGA Tour. It seems to be sort of an opinions section of the website where articles can be provided, and then this particular one is called PGA Tour, the greatest 10 golfers of all time ranked. And this is by Savannah Leigh Richardson. And this was published last fall, so October of 2023, so relatively relevant still. And she sort of clarified, I assume Savannah's a lady. Anyway, she clarified that there is some difficulty with comparing current superstars with, the old grand masters of the game, Tom Morris, someone like Gene Sarazen, who is very dominant in the majors. Would he really beat Rory McIlroy today? So it's hard to kind of stack people up against each other. So you sort of have to categorize them into eras and say who is the best in each era. Even that's pretty challenging with golf because golfers can be competitive across many decades. But nonetheless, they kind of brought together a few elements. So PGA Tour wins, major championships, Ryder Cup performances are just a few things considered when ranking these men. Other factors include historic feats and other ways that they've impacted golf. So there's no denying that, there are other deserved people of all-time greats. But nonetheless, this is a difficult list to make, but here it is. So coming in 10th place, Nick Faldo, who's won 6 majors, 3 Masters, and 3 Opens. Lots of other credentials. I believe he's also knighted. And next we have number 9, Seve Ballesteros, who is an absolutely icon of the game from Spain, another international player, 65 worldwide wins, so possibly even less than the Shark, but racked up 5 majors, including 3 Open championships. He was known for just an absolute artistry on the golf course, and he could get out of any lie or condition, which is one of the reasons that he's in this top 10. Next up is one of my guys, one of my favorites, Gary Player, number 8. He's an international ambassador for golf, one of the best to ever play. He paved the way for international players. 150 worldwide wins, 24 PGA Tour victories, and 9 major championships. So Gary Player is an absolute phenom. In my eyes, he might even be considered ahead of Phil. But next up, Phil Mickelson, known as Lefty, is the number 7 player on this list because he's the oldest player to win a major in 2021, and by a wide margin. He won the PGA Championship at 50 years and 11 months old. That gave him 6 majors in his career, so I guess he's tied there with Seve. He's quite a few, 3 less than Gary Player, but lots of PGA Tour victories with 45, which is more than Gary, and lots of credentials across the Ryder Cups. So maybe a controversial pick for number 7, but there we go. Number 6, Bobby Jones. So he was the Nicklaus of the early days. 13 major championships. He's the only player to win all 4 majors in 1930, giving him the career Grand Slam. It's also really interesting to note that he won all 13 of those tournaments, those major tournaments, in an 8-year span from 1923 to 1930, which is incredible. And his greatest gift to the game was co-founding the Masters with Clifford Roberts, creating an Augusta National Golf Club. And, there's one other thing that they don't even mention in this article about Bobby Jones, and that's the fact that he was dedicated to the game as an amateur. He won all of these events as an amateur. He didn't take a paycheck. He was the greatest amateur of golf to ever live. All right, let's move on to number 5. We got Arnold Palmer, Arnie's Army. Arnold Palmer comes at number 5, not only because of his prowess on the course, but he's also credentialed with helping increase prize money for players. Palmer was a fan favorite. His popularity is still appreciated today. He won 7 majors. Augusta is where he dominated the most, winning 4 Masters, including his comeback victory in the 1960 U.S. Open. Will go down as one of his greatest feats, where he beat out Hogan and Nicklaus that week. Number 4, we got Sam Snead. He was tied with Tiger Woods for the most ever PGA Tour wins at 82. I think Tiger's beat that since, so Tiger has 83 now. But anyways, he did not complete the career Grand Slam, but he does sit at number 4 on this list because, he's got 7 majors. The only major he was missing was the U.S. Open. No one can deny how good Sam Snead was. His swing looked effortless, and he played with the best for 5 decades. Moving on, we got number 3, Ben Hogan, who won 9 major championships, was one of the best ball strikers ever, and his swing book is still something that golfers reference when learning the game. He had a tenacity that just wouldn't let him give up at golf, even after a terrible car accident. Hogan won 6 majors after that accident, including 3 in 1953. Number 2, now I'm going to get flack for this from the older listeners of this podcast, or just fans of the Bear, the Golden Bear. Number 2, we've got Jack Nicklaus. He narrowly lost out on the top spot on the list. He has the most major championships under his belt at 18, the most ever. It includes 6 green jackets from the Masters, and he's got the 3rd most PGA Tour wins at 73. He's got lots of great credentials, but there is one golfer who just, in my eyes and in this analyst article writer's eyes, he could not quite edge out in terms of dominance, and that's Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is the number 1 player on the list because he transformed golf in a significant way. There's so much he did just from being an African American, representing minorities, and he's the reason technology began to change in golf. He changed golf courses. He changed what athletes look like with weight training and conditioning. His presence generated so much television coverage and revenue. Purses blew up. Golfers worldwide have been given the opportunity to make a career out of playing golf. He has the most PGA Tour wins. I forget again if it's 82 or 83, but he's either tied or has the most. He has 108 wins worldwide, 15 major championships, so he's the 2nd place for that, right after Jack. I think there's enough here that, I think he edges out Jack, just in terms of that stretch of dominance as well. There's so many things that Tiger Woods has done that nobody else has even come close to. So there you have it. Now, of course, this list was inspired by the conversation surrounding Greg Norman, the Shark, and Greg not really being included in that. I looked up another list that had a top 20. I didn't want to go through it all here because that would take forever, but Greg Norman was listed on that list as number 20. So, maybe I was underplaying Greg's value to the game, and I think we can all agree that he was an awesome player. Pretty controversial these days, but still an awesome card to pull in the giveaway, and thanks for the conversation that it sparked.
Do the draw right now. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Draw. No more entries. Let's let the system pick a winner. It's slowing down. Shane O'Brien is the winner. You know Shane O'Brien, Mike?
I do, and he's going to be really pumped. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. He's a true golf collector, I'm guessing. Is that right?
He is, yeah. In a prime example of someone who is an avid golfer. I don't know if he just recently got into golf cards, but is just super enthusiastic about it. So I'm pumped that Shane won it. All right, I finally remembered to talk about card of the week, so we're going to get into it. Last week's card of the week was a Nick Faldo patch autograph card, serial numbered out of 100. I forget what year it was. You know, you can go look at the thumbnail of the card to see kind of what it looked like. But the card had a unique story because it was a free giveaway in the PGA Championship prize draws. So when I run the fantasy golf card pools, in between the rounds, so on Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, I give away free golf cards to the pool participants randomly. We usually run duck races. It's a lot of fun. And one of them was that Nick Faldo patch autograph card. Now, the winner never received the card. He didn't notify me, but I received a letter from the USPS. U.S. Postal Service, and it said, letter to customer, dear customer, an empty container or label with your address was found in the mail and is believed to have been separated from a parcel during handling. See attachments. If the contents of the parcel have not been accounted for, you may submit a missing mail search request in one of 3 ways, blah, 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 provides more information. And what was in that envelope was terrifying. It was just an absolutely shredded piece of the bubble mailer that the card was shipped in. And so obviously the package got destroyed in some way or another. And this recipient didn't receive the card. So bummer. I'm definitely going to be sending them a replacement, something equal or greater value. But yeah, it just, I guess let's commemorate that Nick Faldo card that is probably lost forever. I'm going to file a claim and whatever, see if they'll find it for me. But knowing the Postal Service and how hard I had to push for them to go search for my Bobby Jones second year card, which was a 1927 Bobby Jones PSA 2 that was worth hundreds of dollars, and it included tracking and all kinds of it was a better service level of shipping, and the months I had to wait for them to actually track that down. I doubt that something shipped letter mail is going to turn up. But anyway. Now, as for this week's card of the week, a much simpler and shorter story. It's the 1997 Upper Deck Jordan, Michael Jordan Rare Air, number 31 in the set. This is a boxed set. Of all the cards are Michael Jordan. I think there's something like 100 cards in the set, and they all depict Michael Jordan in different aspects of his life. A lot of them obviously relate to basketball. Some of them are just super random, wearing a suit or traveling in a limo or whatever, holding a silly phone. But there are a handful of golf cards of Michael Jordan in that set. And I liked to collect them. So I happen to have number 31, which shows Michael Jordan wearing some swanky, 80s, 90s style of colorful clothes, matching shorts and t-shirt. And he's cleaning some golf clubs. His clubs are just sitting, soaking in a soapy bucket of water. It's a pretty funny picture, actually, because he's sitting on like a bunch of boxes of like fruit or something. Like it's sort of a kind of an unusual picture, something you'd never see Michael Jordan in. This got a PSA 10, so I'm happy with that grade. Got a couple nice PSA 10 Michael Jordan golf cards. After the show, because somebody mentioned Michael Jordan golf cards on the show with Jeremy Lee and myself, and the one that I showed on air was a 1996 Bayo Space Jam Michael Jordan sticker. That's a PSA 4, the copy that I have. And so after I realized, it's a cool card to show off, but it really wasn't representative of my little Michael Jordan golf personal collection. And so right after the live stream, I pulled out all my Michael Jordan golf cards, had fun flipping through them, shared, an image of each of them on my story on Instagram. And yeah, it's just fun how you can kind of get inspired to fondle through your cards when somebody asks a nice question. All right, guys, I ran out of time for mailbag today, but I will get to it next week, I promise. And we're going to wrap up this episode with a quick public service announcement from Jeremy Lee. This was posted on his Instagram account. He said to share it, so I will play it on the podcast. And then once that wraps up, I'll give one little spoiler for next week, and that'll be a wrap. Here we go.
So I got scammed out of $700 Canadian. A member on hobbyinsider.net posted a Wayne Gretzky rookie card for sale. I responded saying I will take it. I sent him the money, about 700 Canadian, and the card never came. This was done on hobbyinsider.net, upon which I am the lead admin. He was a member in good standing, so I didn't worry about it. His name is Matt Clark of Stony Creek, Ontario. Again, Matt Clark. I had been... when I realized I was scammed, I posted a message on Hobby Insider saying, guys, I might have been scammed. Does anybody know this guy? One member reached out and said, I've actually done deals with him. I've been to his house. I can't believe this happened. Let me text him for you. He texted him. Matt Clark never responded. He's disappeared. So that's one thing. Also, some people on Facebook had said that they'd been scammed by him as well. We were able to get a picture of an envelope that someone, when you send a shipping picture, his address was 88 Galileo Drive in Stony Creek, Ontario. This is all public information that I'm sharing here right now. Be careful out there, guys. Maybe I should have done more due diligence, but again, he was a member in good standing. Don't send money willy-nilly. Get your vouchers. Send PayPal goods if you have to. Just if this can save one person from losing money, that'd be great. I've opened up a police report with the Calgary Police. Hopefully they investigate it, communicate with Stony Creek law enforcement. And listen, I don't think I'm going to get this money back, but if nothing else, let's save somebody else from getting scammed. If from Matt Clark or someone else, please share this. Thanks, guys.
Jeremy, if you're listening, I am so sorry you got scammed. That is such a bummer. I hope this guy can, get his head on straight. And it sounds like he was a past member of the community and somebody in good standing. And that just sort of sobers you up, especially, myself as administrator for a community for the Golf Cards and Memorabilia Facebook group. That's one of the reasons that we are so diligent when we review new member requests. There's lots of shady characters out there. You can even just tell based on profiles, like weird pictures, weird groups of friends, not answering the questions properly, says that they're from somewhere, but they look like they're from somewhere else, or just generally looks scammy. So, and that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. But the stuff that really keeps you up at night and that you should be weary of, just you general hobby participants, is just because somebody is in the community, in good standing, has somebody else in the community local to them who's been at their house, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should trust them, with that amount of money, or don't send any amount of money to somebody that you don't know without expecting to lose it. And in our hobby, you develop these relationships with people who over the internet, through social media sites, whatever. And, I would say there's definitely a lot of people in this hobby that I trust. And I'm talking about people who don't necessarily have their face out there and their name out there. And so those kinds of people have like a vested interest in not scamming, because otherwise they would get torn down. But just even average, collectors who I've built rapport with and personal relationships with, I truly, maybe I'm just being trustworthy and underly skeptical, but I don't think that those people that I know would scam, but you never know. So be careful out there, folks. That's it for today. Make sure you go to linktr.ee/Fondling Cardboard to join the open pool, which kicks off in 2 weeks. And next week, I promised I was going to give a spoiler. So I made the second biggest sports card purchase in my hobby career. It was not a single card. It was actually a chunk of a collection, not a massive chunk. Like each individual card is pretty dang valuable on its own too. So I'm not going to give details yet because I don't have the cards in hand. It was a private transaction. He's talking about scamming. I really hope that this guy pulls through, and I've got a tracking number, so it should be here by next Monday. I can't wait to reveal it. I might even put out a YouTube video or something to show the cards off. But until then, I've got my lips sealed. Hopefully that's enough spoiler for you to tune in next week. Until then, see you guys.
Ridiculous golf card collector.